speaking to me now, Cardiff's Joe Cordina. Good to see you, Joe. I haven't seen you for a while. I think actually last time I spoke to you, you were telling me that you had, I think it was 3 or 4 potential opponents for the May 9th show. So could you just fill us in on what's been happening since then?
Since then, not a lot. We've been in lockdown for a while and then came out of it, and now we're back in it. Then we came out of it. We're probably going back in Friday, I think. So, but I've been training. My man got a yard, so we pretty much turned that into a gym. I've got a few bags up there, pretty much every weight you can think of in there as well. So I've been doing my runs, going on bike rides, just keep myself active. Been on holiday as well. And I had an operation on my hand which was playing me up for my last 3-4 fights, so I've got that. So as soon as we went into lockdown, I thought I need to book that in, just so I'm not fighting with it for the rest of my career or for the next couple of fights or whatever. But other than that, I've just been training, been down here with Gary Lockett's gym while I'm home. I didn't want to go back up to Tony's while a few of the boys are there, risking anything, and I just don't want to get in a way with them. So I've just been training down here.
So in regards to your hand problem, is it a case of you just using the lockdown to your advantage, really?
Yeah, pretty much. I was going to fight in May 9th, which we were scheduled to fight in Cardiff. And then as soon as we went into lockdown, I thought, this perfect time. I ain't going to get this time again, so I just straight away booked it in. It was booked in for July, got that done. And now I'm back. I don't want to rush in too much. I've been punching on it, but I'm going to have a couple of weeks off punching on it again, and just sort of take my time. I got plenty of time. We got all over Christmas, and obviously I'll start back in the new year properly and back up in Essex and start hitting it hard then. But until then, I'm just going to take my time with it.
How difficult was it for you during the lockdown period for you not to turn into a normal person as opposed to a professional athlete? Was it difficult for you, or was it easy for you to maintain your discipline?
No, it was easy for me. From the day I started boxing, I was 15. Had my first fight at 16, just before my 16th birthday. But from that day, my third fight, I was on a Welsh team. I was training with a Welsh team, and then from there, 2 years, I was on a GB squad. So since I left school, I've been a professional athlete. As an amateur boxer, I was a professional athlete, training 5 times a week, 3 times a day, having the weekends at home, and I was living away. So for me, it's no different. I was doing what I was doing in lockdown for the last 10 years, 12 years. I trained twice a day, go back, have a sleep. Wasn't allowed out, wasn't allowed shopping or doing this or doing that. I was allowed to go to the supermarket, which I was doing, to get my food, but other than that, it's no different to me. So when I hear people moaning, I'm like, it's just normal to me. Anyway, I train and I go back to my house, relax. I have the odd blast on Call of Duty or FIFA, and then that'll be me. But yeah, it's no different.
Is it not a bit different for not having a fight to aim for?
Yeah, because it's a fine line with your training. If you start pushing it too hard, you're gonna go flat, and you're gonna hit a brick wall where you're gonna think, I can't be fuck training. It's not, can't be bothered. So with Tony, he sort of explained to me what he wanted me to do. I was watching. He said all I want you to do is watching boxing. So which I was doing. He's giving me fighters all the time to watch. So I was watching them. Then I was going training. So I'd punch one day, then I'd bike ride, then I'd run, then I'd box. But then some days I'd train twice, depending on how I felt. But it's a very fine line, because if you start pushing it too much, you're gonna, like I said, go flat, and some people will fall out of love I wouldn't say the sport, but out of the training and everything else. So yeah, it's a really fine line.
Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing, they've been putting shows on in Britain, leading Britain out of the lockdown. Have you got any fight date, or has Eddie Hearn indicated when you might be in action again?
He's just waiting for me, so when my hand's 100%, then we'll go. But I have said to Tony, and Eddie's been asking Tony, when I'm going to be back, and he messaged me yesterday, wishing me happy birthday, and then he's like, I can't wait for you to be back. So yeah, and I said, I can't wait to be back too. I need to slap someone about. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully March. I told them my trainer March I should be ready. By the time I get back into sparring, camp and everything else, March should be perfect timing. So we'll look to get out in March.
And as I mentioned at the start of the interview, when I spoke to you back in, was it April or maybe actually March, you mentioned you had 3 or 4 potential opponents, high-level opponents. Will you be fighting somebody at that level, or will it be someone a bit lower just to get back into it?
I couldn't tell you. Obviously, my management, which is my manager Tony SIMS, and Eddie will work that out. But they were very good opponents. I haven't been in the ring for a year, and I've had that hand injury. So whether we look to go a little bit lower or even go back in, I don't really care. I'd jump in with anyone. So that's not a problem. It will be a 10-rounder as well. It won't be a little 6 or a 4 or a 8. It'll be a 10-rounder. So yeah, we just wait and see.
I presume you watched the boxing on the weekend gone, the Dubois and Joyce fight. I mean, you're obviously a world-class amateur fighter. You're on you're thereabouts in the pros as well. I mean, what was your thought on the ending of the fight, which was some people have criticised Dubois for the way he finished?
You gotta be careful what you say. Now, I've seen the people and just chucking it out there and just totally giving it to Dubois, but at the same time, you gotta put yourself in his shoes. He's young. It shouldn't have been down to him personally. Anyway, his eye was shut, and he's against a world-class amateur fighter. Regardless of what he looks like when you're watching him on, you can't win an Olympic gold, Olympic silver, but should have been a gold, a world silver, which should have been a gold, a European gold, a Commonwealth gold. You don't win all that for being average or a decent fighter. He's a world-class amateur, and to the eye, he don't look the best, but that shouldn't have been down to him to take that knee. He should have been pulled out of the fight the round before because it was completely shut. Now he took a good whack on it and he took a knee. After the fight, he said he said to Frank that he had a shooting pain in it, which was his nerve damage. He fractured his eye socket. It's quite a bad injury. You look at Cal Brook, his eye hasn't been the same since. And that wasn't nerve damage, that was a eye socket. But then you look at Anthony Ogogo, he had nerve damage, and I think he done his eye socket. So, and he ain't boxed again. So it's one of them things. Like, yeah, he knows what he felt in his face and his eye, and he was in pain. Until other people are in that position, we don't know what we're gonna do. Personally, I can't see myself doing that. But like I said, we haven't been in that position, so yeah, I just hope he can recover from it, because Daniel's a very talented fighter. He's still young, and he's a friend of mine. So I just hope he can come back from it and he recovers well and get back in a ring and just aim to head for a world title, which I know he will win eventually. But I just think that fight was a little bit too soon for him.
You mentioned your trainer there, Tony SIMS. Obviously, you've got total respect for Tony, and you've been with him pretty much since you turned pro.
Yeah, well, Tony, I remember when he used to come up to Sheffield when I was sparring, and he'd come up with Kevin Mitchell, O'Hara Davis when he was with him, Conor Benn, Ricky Burns, and take John Ryder up there. So he was taking all these boys up, even Darren Barker when he was fighting. So I used to see him in the gym quite often, and I just used to love how he used to be so calm in the corner and the instructions he was giving. I'd stay behind sometimes and watch some of the spars, and even when I was sparring Kevin Mitchell and Conor Benn and Martin Woods. So I thought there was a few trainers I was looking to go for, go and try out, which was Gary was one of them. Obviously, one of them was Tony, where I was originally were. Tony SIMS. There was a couple others that I was looking at as well, but Tony was the first one I looked to. I went there and I loved it. And it wasn't we were doing anything like outrageous and it was madness like fancy pads and all that. Everything was basic, which I've never been taught it, and it's mad to think that I've never been taught basic boxing. Now, for me, when I look at basic boxing, which is your jab, your right hand, and how to slip, roll, and everything else. I wasn't taught that, and I knew what I had to work on. And when I was at Tony's, I wasn't being taught anything like that. I was just doing the same as what I was doing when I was an amateur, which I knew personally that I wouldn't been able to do that in the pro game. So I knew what I had to work on, inside fighting, my head movement, and being able to slow it down and hold my feet. So when I went to Tony, I learned so much, and not only he teaches me in the ring, outside the ring, the business sort of side, and how to sort of, how can I say, like with everything, like business minded with it. And he's a great guy. I live with him. He built his garages into an annex for me, so I live with him. So I'm around him constantly, and it's for a fighter. I think that's unbelievable, to be around someone with so much knowledge. And like I said, he's not only my trainer, he's my friend, and he teaches me in life as well, not just the boxing. So he's a great guy. He's a great guy.
To some fans, when you say amateur experience, some fans don't realise when you were an amateur, you were a world-class amateur. You were probably, even as an amateur, better than probably 90% of pro fighters. And you mentioned Joyce as well. People don't necessarily give fighters who have got extensive amateur background perhaps the respect they deserve.
Yeah, not every top amateur is a good pro, and I just think that's down to them and the trainer they choose to be with. They have the talent because they've gone to the amateurs and they're above the rest. You get me? If like say for instance Lomachenko, he done what he done in the amateurs and he came into the pros. He lost his second fight, but he changed and he adapted and he went on to do what he done. But he lost his last fight. But same as Teofimo Lopez, he was in the amateurs. He lost to a boy I beat 3 times. Comes to the pros, he's unified world champion. You got other fighters out there. Now myself, I knew what I had to work on. I knew I never had to fight on the inside as an amateur. I never held my feet. I never moved my head. It was always moving my feet outwards, and making people miss like that, and always countering. But now I can fight on the inside. I can move my head. I can fight going forward. I can fight going backwards. And people gotta, if you're a top level amateur, in the pros it's completely different to amateur boxing, but you should know what you need to work on. And if you're a top level amateur, you've got that head start. So I just think it's down to the fighter to sort of realise what he needs to work on to get to that next stage in the pros.
Were you surprised when Lomachenko went more or less straight in at world level when he turned pro?
Yeah, I was, because no one has really done it. It's like you've set in the bar. But as the years gone on in the last few years, you got people like Teofimo Lopez going into a world title in under 15 fights. Josh Taylor, unified world champion in under 15 fights. There's other fighters out there. You had Shakur Stevenson, under 15 fights. So it's and they're all top level amateurs. So it's like I've 11 fights. I'm ranked, I think, 17 on BoxRec, number 7 in the IBF, number I think 9 in the WBA. So I'm slowly getting there, and I've only had 11 fights. I've had 4 titles. So I reckon I could win a world title at under 15 fights. But that's, again, I gotta be pulled back sometimes because I just jump in there right now. So yeah, I leave that down to my management. But yeah, it's madness because no one have ever done that after 2 fights, gone into a world title fight.
How far away do you think you are from being the total package, if you like, or as being as good as you're going to get?
As good as like the full package. I'd say I'm a good 5 fights away from being a full package, but that's not saying that I can't win a world title in the next 3 fights. I reckon with a few more 10, 12 rounders and being in with someone that is going to come to win as well, I think I'll be there. And you say full package, I don't think full package, and you're always learning. Like even Gary will tell you there's always room for improvement and learning. Everyone does Gary don't train his boys the same as Tony trains us, and Tony don't train as next man. Do you understand? So there's always a room for improvement.
Last question, Joe. I noticed you training you with some of Gary's boys today, and I could see they were all looking up to you. I mean, you've obviously been to the Olympics and done amazing things in boxing. Do you think you'll ever be a trainer someday down the line?
Yeah, I'd love to. Obviously, I've got to do my bit in boxing first, and I'm sure, like I said, I'll learn a lot more along the way. But eventually, that's what I want to do. I want to give my knowledge back to someone, because I've been through the amateurs. I've been every major there is. I've been to Olympic Games. I know how sort of that game works, and then eventually, when I win a world title, I'll know how the pro game works. So, yeah, I'd love to be a trainer eventually.
Okay, thanks for your time today, Joe, and good luck in March for your fight, and good luck for the future, mate.